After we have discussed the basics of statistics, we will now proceed to data collection and presentation. Let us all be reminded that there are two types of data. Those are the primary data and the secondary data, wherein the primary data is the data collected directly by the researcher himself. These are the first-hand or original sources. On the other hand, secondary data are those data which were used by a researcher or any person lifted from other sources. Statistical data should be presented systematically. Remember, the mere gathering of the information or data is not a small task. A greater task is to make the data comprehensible and meaningful. But how? There are three ways of representing data. These are the textual form, in which the data are incorporated in the text of the report, meaning the form is narrative. Number 2 is tabular form, where the data are presented in rows and columns. So, ang tawag dito ay table. Number 3 is by graphical form, in which the data are presented in graphics form for an easy to digest information. So, ito yung mga graph na nakikita natin. Sa unang tingin mo pa lang, kitang-kita mo na yung information doon. Malinaw ka agad. In our previous discussion, raw data are data collected in an investigation and they are not organized systematically. So, ito pa lang yung fresh na fresh, bagong kolekta mo pa lang. Hindi mo pa siya natitreat or hindi pa siya dumadaan sa process or statistical process. There are different methods of organizing the raw data. Number 1 is an array. What is an array? An array is ordering of the observations from smallest to the largest or vice versa. It has advantages because the low and high values can be readily perceived. The process is tedious, especially if the raw data are numerous. This is true because if you have large data, so pagka masyadong malaki, mahirap siyang i-arrange chronologically from smallest to highest or from highest to lowest. So, madali yan kung gagamit ka ng Excel file. Let us take an illustrative example for an array. Here, a nationwide travel agency offers special rates for package tours during summer. To economize spending for the advertisement, only certain age group of people will present brochures for attraction. The agency gets the previous passenger customers from its files and group them according to ages. Only those age groups with least people are sent brochures. So, from the files, ito yung kanilang nakuhang information. Okay, these are the ages of the previous customers. Ito yung tinatawag na raw data. Paano ang paggawa ng array? Sabi is arranging the numbers from smallest to highest or from highest to lowest. So here, it is arranged from 80 down to 79, 77 until 18. 80 being the largest number and 18 is the smallest. In another example naman, an array is arranged from smallest to largest. 18 being the smallest value and 80 is the largest value. So this is an example of an array. So dito, madali mong makikita ilan taong gulang yung pinakamatanda nilang naging customer at ilan naman o ilang taong gulang yung pinakabata. So since data can be presented in tabular form, so eto siya. Magkakaroon ka muna ng classes. So yung tinatawag na class na yon ay class interval. 10 to 19, 20 to 29, 30 to 39, hanggang 80 to 89. We can clearly see that the interval is 10. So, tingnan mo yung pagitan ng classes, yung class interval na yon. And then, tally. So, kung makikita natin yung array, so ilang edad yung nasa 10 to 19. So, since there is only 1 for this category, for this class, 18. So, we have 1. Then, we have 1 person aging 20 to 29. 30 to 39, we have 3, 40 to 49, 4, 50 to 59. So, ito yung pinakamarami, which is 13. Another, 60 to 69, 13 also. Then, 70 to 79 is 4. Then, 80 to 89 is 1. So, the total number of passengers is 40. So, kung kukunin mo yung frequency, bibilangin mo lang yung tally. Kaya, tally, number 1, yung 10 to 19 is 1, then 1. So, hanggang dun sa dulo na 80 to 89, which is 1. Then, finding the relative frequency. Paano ba kinukuha yung relative frequency? So, dun sa first class na 10 to 19, ang frequency niya ay 1. So, ang gagawin mo para makuha mo yung relative frequency, 1 divided by 40 is 0.025. Another, 1 divided by 40 is the same. Then we have 3 divided by 40 is 0.075. Then 4 divided by 40 is 0.100, etc. hanggang dun sa dulo. Then get the percentage. How will you get the percentage? Yung relative frequency will be multiplied by 100. 0.025 times 100 is 2.5. 0.075 is 7.5. 0.325 is 32.5 hanggang maabot mo yung dulo na 0.025 times 100 is 2.5%. Total of 100%. And how will you construct the frequency distribution table? So these are the steps. Decide on the set of groupings called classes. So ilang classes ba yung gagawin mo? Then number 2, sorting or tallying the data into classes. Number 3, counting the number of tallies in each class called class frequencies. So there are rules in construction of frequency table. We seldom use fewer than 5 or more than 15 classes. So ibig sabihin, hindi dapat bumaba sa 5 yung classes, yung class interval. Hindi rin dapat tumaas sa 15. Then the classes cover equal ranges of values and make ranges multiples of numbers that are easy to work with. Open classes should be avoided, such as classes of less than or more than. Number 3, classes should not overlap. So hindi dapat nagkakapatong-patong. Yung lower limit nung isang class hindi dapat pumatong sa upper limit nung susunod. Number 4, in the final presentation of the table, tally is usually omitted. So, inaalis mo na yon sa presentation ng table, yung may mga guhit-guhit. For finding the class interval, so ito, Freud and Simon suggested the formula. The suggested class interval is equal to the highest observed value, ibig sabihin yung pinakamataas na number, minus the lowest observed value divided by the number of classes. So, kung ilan yung class interval na gusto mo, say for example is 10, if the highest is 80 and the lowest is 18, so 80 minus 18 divided by number of classes, yung gusto mo. And then, if you find a decimal number, so i-round off mo siya sa pinakamalapit na whole number. Yun ang magiging interval. Take note, a convenient value to start the first class is 10, or we may start with the smallest value of the array of numbers. So, ibig sabihin, dapat yung lower limit mag-uumpisa, sabi, sa 10. Or po pwede rin dun sa smallest value dun sa array. Pero kung ang data collected, halimbawa mag-uumpisa siya sa 40, so pwede ka rin mag-umpisa dun sa 40 kasi masyadong mababa kung 10 kung wala ka namang numbers na magmumula sa 10 hanggang 39. So you may start also with 40. Okay? So in our given example, the relative class frequencies, so eto siya, it shows the percent of the total number of observation in each class and must have a total of 1 or 100% in percentage. So halimbawa, dun sa 50 to 59, ilang percent ba ang O ilang percent ba ng mga pasahero ang may edad na 50 to 59? So agad makikita mo 32.5. Yun namang 60 to 69 ay 32.5. Whereas yung may edad na 80 to 89, isa lang. At saka yung sobrang bata, isa lang din. So agad makikita mo dito kung ilang porsyento yung sa bawat category. How about the true limits and class marks? Ano ba yung tinatawag na true limits and class marks? So as defined, it is a point that represents the halfway point between successive classes. It is obtained by adding the upper limit of one class and the lower limit of the next class and then dividing it by 2. So yun tinatawag na class mark. Pagka yung tinatawag na class mark ay yung pagitan nung class interval na yon. Say for example, 10 to 19. 10 plus 19 is 29. Divided by 2 is equal to 14.5. So, yun yung tinatawag na class mark. Yun yung pagitan nung class interval na yon. How about the class boundary? Class boundary is obtained by adding the upper limit of one class and the lower limit of the next class and then dividing it by 2. For example, 19 is the upper limit of the lower class and 20 is the lower limit of the next higher class. So, 19 plus 20 is 39 divided by 2. Therefore, the class boundary is 19.5. So, the upper boundary of 10 to 19 class is 19.5 and the lower boundary of the interval of 20 to 29 is also 19.5. So, ito yung pagitan ng dalawang class intervals or dalawang classes. Another way of representing the data is by graphical method. So in graphical forms, it is often more helpful in making a stronger visual impact. So madali mo siyang makita. Great charts that will help portray a frequency distribution graphically are the histogram, the frequency polygon, and the cumulative frequency polygon. A histogram is a graphic representation of a frequency distribution where adjoined vertical rectangles are drawn on the horizontal axis with the centers of the bases located at the class marks. The class boundaries are plotted against the frequencies. A histogram is called a frequency histogram when frequencies are plotted along the vertical axis against the class boundaries. So, here is an example of a histogram. So, ang makikita mo dyan ay yung frequency per class interval. On the other hand, a frequency polygon is a closed figure of n sides constructed by plotting the class marks against the frequencies. In constructing a frequency polygon, class marks before the lowest and after the highest class marks are drawn in order to close the polygon. Here is an example of the frequency polygon. So the slide presents the frequency. So from 10 to 19, we have 1. 20 to 29, we have also 1. Kaya pantay lang siya. Makikita mo yung kulay blue, saka yung kulay violet o purple. Then for 30 to 39, we have 3. So kaya umangat na siya. Then 40 to 49 hanggang 80 to 89, which is only 1. The graph of the cumulative frequency is called the ogive. What is an ogive? It is a line graph representing the upper class boundaries along the horizontal axis and the corresponding cumulative frequencies along the vertical axis. It is also called less than cumulative frequency polygon. Otherwise, it is the greater than cumulative frequency polygon. Okay? But how can we compute for the cumulative frequency less than or greater than? So makikita mo dun sa frequency less than, since on the table the lowest class is located on the top, which is 10 to 19, we add the frequencies such as 1. So we have 1 on the third column. Then 1 plus 1 is 2. So we have 2. 2 plus 3 is 5. 5 plus 4 is 9. 9 plus 13, yung frequency ng 50 to 59. 22. 22 plus 13 is 35. 35 plus 4 is 39. And 39 plus 1 is 40. So, the same method dun sa cumulative frequency greater than. So, since the highest class is 80 to 89, so nasa baba, mag-start ka dun sa frequency na yon 1. 1 plus 4 dun sa frequency ng 70 to 79 is 5. Plus 13, 18. Plus 13, 31. Plus 4, 35. Plus 3, 38. Plus 1, 39. Plus 1, 40. Okay. So, in graph, so eto na, the next slide, makikita mo yung kulay pink na guhit, that is the graph of the cumulative frequency less than. So, starting 10 to 19, so 1, and then paakyat ka hanggang 2, paakyat hanggang 40. And then, yun namang yung dotted line naman na kulay blue, that is the graph of the cumulative frequency greater than. So, mapapansin mo, dun sa 80 to 89, there is only 1 dun sa frequency, then followed by 5 hanggang 18, 31, 35, until 40. So, packet siya. Ang tawag dyan sa graph na yan ay ogive. But if you want to clearly see the percentage of each class, so mas pinakamagandang magagamit mo is the pie chart. The pie chart is a circle that is divided into sectors or sector pie-shaped pieces which are proportional in size to the corresponding frequencies or percentages of frequencies. So, makikita mo dyan, yung percentage nung 10 to 19 is 2.5%. So, ayun, maliit lang yung kulay blue na nasa gawing taas. Another, yung 20 to 29, yung medyo blue-green na 2.5% pa rin. And then, we have 30 to 39 is 7.5. So, parang medyo malaki-laki ng konti, na medyo green, na medyo blue. So, yung pinakamalaking portion na 32.5, dalawa sila, yung ages 50 to 59 and 60 to 69. So, yan yung makikita mo. If you want to see the percentage of each class, so pie chart is the best graph. So, that's all for different types of presentation of data.